Welcome back to C++ with Miyoshi. I just want to show you a little bit about GitHub and its integration with Visual Studio. So I'm going to share my screen here and get a little bit smaller down on the bottom here. So I've already opened up Visual Studio. I just opened it up and double clicked on it and all that good stuff. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to make a brand new project. Okay. So if, depending on what installation you have of Visual Studio, there's all kinds of different things here. I'm going to scroll down here. Lots of people use empty project, and some of us like to use console application. We're doing C++, obviously, C++ with Miyoshi. So I'll do C++ console app. I'll just do next. And I don't like that name, so we're going to do GitHub demo. So GitHub demo and hit create. And then we're going to go ahead and we can do everything that we need to in GitHub. Lots of times what we'll do is we will go to GitHub, make a repository like this GitHub test, which I made just a little bit ago, but we'll often make a GitHub repository first. However, with Visual Studio, you don't actually need to do that. Okay, so here is a nice little beautiful hello world. And what I can do is down here, I just go to add source control. And it just says to git, which is great. And it does its thing. And now it's ready. So the next thing you can do is if everything's ready over here. Now, you know, I didn't do anything. All I did was make this hello world folder or file project. And if I run this, it's great. And all that beautiful stuff it does, compiles, and it does hello world, and I'm happy. So I'm just going to leave that there for now. And I can publish this guy to GitHub. So I'll publish to GitHub. Now, I've already have a GitHub account, but say I didn't have one, you can just add or change accounts. You just sign into GitHub right here, hit sign in, and everything's great. If you don't even have a GitHub account, you could even sign up right here. So I already have a GitHub account. I'm already signed in. My password's already set up. So I will go ahead and just use Michael T. Miyoshi, and it'll go right to GitHub. And I will make it a private repository. And again, I suggest all my students make all their repositories private. They used to say that it was tough to make a private repository public, but what I've seen lately is it's just slick. You just make it public later on when you're ready, and it's ready to go. So I'll hit the publish here, and that will then make a repository in GitHub. I can even go over here and maybe we'll watch and see. I don't know if, nope, looks like it's good. And I'll bet there's even a repository here now. Oh, look at that. GitHub demo, it's already there. It's private. And you can even see all the files that are there. Notice if I go into the GitHub demo, there's my C++ file, and it's exactly what you saw over there in Visual Studio. Very cool, right? So let's say I make a change. So I'll just do something I like to do anyway. And include, oopsie, stdio.h. And let's do a printf. And we'll do a \n. There we go. By the way, they don't put the return 0 there. I don't really like that. If you're going to give me a project, make sure it's all the way correct. Okay, anyway, I'll check and make sure this is hunky-dory. And there it is. Hello world, great balls of fire. There we go. So now, what I want to do next is I'm going to go ahead and I'll go to this home in this Team Explorer button, right? Solution Explorer is where your files live. Okay, and here's my demo. And Team Explorer, that's where you do all the GitHub stuff. And you can use the different arrows to go back and forth. But I'm just gonna go to home and I'll do sync. Now, I just made changes here. So when you make changes, you need to actually do a commit. Oops, it's actually doing a push. And it should have, well, it actually did a commit already, which is not what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to come back here, and it didn't do it still. Let's see what else we could do. Do another printf. What is going on? Oops, yeah, backslash. There we go. So I'll save that up. I could just save instead of run it, but that's okay. And now I should have a commit, or I should be able to do a commit. I'll just hit change instead. There we go. So now under change, so again, the home and then changes. And what I'm going to do is what's called a commit. So I'm going to commit, added some lines of code to the file. Even though that's not very exciting, that's what I'm going to do. I'll just put that in there. And the more detail you put in your commit, the better off you're going to be. You might even put in the date, that kind of good stuff. And then I'll do commit all. Okay, once I've committed, all I have to do, come back here and I'll do a sync again. You should, there we go, one out. So the outgoing commits, notice there's one, and all you have to do now is do a push. So now, once I've done the push, it'll finish up. It'll finish up sending everything. And back on GitHub, if I refresh this file, you should have all the new stuff I've got. So there you have it. Hello world, great puzzle file. What is going on? That should be a question, but that's okay. I didn't put a question here. I must have done an exclamation point, which I did. Okay, now that's all great. But I want to show you one other really nice thing, because in the beginning, my students especially are going to have really small files doing specific things. And so instead of creating lots of tiny repos, we're going to go ahead and do something a little slightly different. So back over here in Solution Explorer, I'm going to right click on GitHub demo.cvp. And what I'm going to do is remove it. Now, don't delete it, just remove it. So if you do make that mistake, the nice thing about GitHub is you could go get it back. But I'm just going to remove it. And then I'll right click on source files and I'll add a new item. And I'll add a new CPP file. Now, I'm not going to be very creative. I'm just going to do new source.cpp. I'll hit add. And notice it's just blank. So I'll do pound include stdio.h and then int main curly brace, and I'll do a printf. Second program, and I'll do a couple \n's maybe. Now, obviously, I would probably do something a little more exciting there. Let's go ahead and run this, make sure it runs. But what I did there is I took away, oh, come on. I took away the old source file, which had the main, and I put in a new one. Notice that it's actually there. So if I go add existing, it's still there in the same place. GitHub demo.cpp and new source. So they're both in there. However, I can't have them both in the same project because they both have a main, and it wouldn't like that. So I just removed the one from the solution and put the other one in the solution. And now let's go back to Team Explorer, and I will do a change. I'll removed, oopsie, demo CPP file and added new CPP file to project. Okay, and again, that's not very exciting. I should have something a little bit more specific there, but I'll commit all. And then once my commits are, once I commit the changes, so I just committed, then I can go ahead and go to sync. And there it's ready for a push. Notice outgoing commits ready. I'll just hit a push and it's pushing. Then while it's doing that, I will go ahead and come over to GitHub and I'll come back to GitHub demo and notice there is my new file. Ta-da! Wonderful. Now, one more thing I would say is see this git ignore. You probably should use those in every project you do. The nice thing about when I did that with Visual Studio is it just brought it over nice and slick. You can make your own git ignores for whatever you're doing by going to gitignore.io. And there, what you do is you say, okay, if you're committing just files, what I would suggest you do is you put in the operating system. So if you are doing Windows stuff, or you're doing, maybe you're doing Windows and Mac OS stuff, there's some files, hidden files that you can do. You just do create. You can just highlight all this with Control A, Control C. And then over here, you can make a new file. Make a .gitignore file. And then instead of using a template like it is, all you have to do is paste it in here and then save it up. Now, I'm not going to save it up because I already have a good one from Visual Studio. And you can actually look at them. They tell you a lot about stuff if you can read them. Just understand what this is telling you is that what it's telling GitHub is when you get a commit from Visual Studio, don't grab everything. So in other words, if I went to where my repos are, you would see there's way more files than we really want. And the git ignore ignores them. So it takes all the stuff that we don't want and it says, we're going to ignore those things and not copy them up there. So there we have it. That is how to use GitHub with Visual Studio. It's really nice. It's just, you know, come to this home, come to Team Explorer, come to the home, changes, commit your changes, come over here, sync your changes. Right now there's no commits I need, but that is the way you do it. And if you need to sync, maybe you made some changes, you can always fetch and pull. And that's when you have, maybe you did something on GitHub that you didn't do on Visual Studio. You can actually, you know, maybe make a file here, maybe make a README file. Then if I make a README file, I can do that. Commit that file. And then now, if I come back to Visual Studio, I can do a pull, or maybe I do a fetch first. So I'll fetch, and then I'll pull. And now I am all up to date. If I now do something here, I can again do a change, then a commit. And then once I do a commit, I can go ahead and push it. Okay, so that's Visual Studio and GitHub. It's a real slick interface. And again, you can also, like I said, You can make mini files in your project. Just remove the file that you don't need anymore and put in the file that you want, whether it's an existing item like the demo or something brand new because you're going to start a new project. But you don't want to start a real new project. You just want to start a new C++ file. All right? So hopefully that gives you a good start on using Visual Studio and GitHub together. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on C++ with Miyoshi.